Hello, everyone, and welcome back to MC 375. This video is on social media platforms and channel differences. So as you know, there are many different types of social media platforms out there, from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp. So it's really important that we understand that each of these social media platforms are different channels, and each channel has its own ability to be used as a communication tool. Understanding the differences between each platform can help you grow as both a content creator and a social media strategist. So let's go over each platform very quickly. So Facebook, as you may know, is a platform that is dedicated to connecting different people through the use of post and now live stories. Facebook is one of the original social media channel, and it still has one of the largest followings, even though many of you likely don't use it. Now, the maximum length for a post on Facebook is 6,300 characters, and yet analytics show that posts with 80 or fewer characters will get 66% more engagement than longer posts. The algorithm of Facebook also produces very strong emphasis on photos and videos. Facebook can host vertical or horizontal images, but videos need to be shot horizontally so that they don't get those black bars on the side. Facebook does support GIFs, and the original post size is 940 by 788 pixels. Facebook Live is one of the ways to stream live video through the Facebook platform. It maxes out for just a regular video, not a Facebook Live video, but a regular video posted maxes out at 45 minutes. Most engagement happens though when the video is less than 1 minute. Keep in mind that when you are watching videos on Facebook, they autoplay silently. So it requires your user to click onto the video and unmute it, like over here in the right-hand corner, to be able to hear it. And so most of the time when you're creating videos on Facebook, you should assume that your user is listening or watching it without listening to it, that they are watching the video without sound. Now, Facebook does use emojis and hashtags, but there are no search features by hashtag on Facebook. So they are essentially just there for looks. Hashtags don't serve any functional purpose on Facebook. That's not the case on Twitter, which is mainly a text-driven platform. It is used a lot for information sharing and finding communities through the use of hashtags. In fact, hashtags were invented by Twitter users, and they're still a critical part of the platform. We max out at on Twitter at 280 characters, and yet 71 through 100 characters have the highest retweet rate and receive 17% more engagement. Links here are very heavily emphasized by the algorithm. So if you have links to other content, it actually helps your post perform better. There is still some emphasis on visuals, although not as much as other platforms. And you can use videos, but they max out at 140 seconds. So they have to be very short on Twitter. The post size is 1600 by 900 pixels. And it does support the use of emojis and bitmojis. Emojis can also be used in display names, and so that can be helpful too. As I mentioned before, hashtags are a critical part of the platform, so you should try to use between 1 and 2 per post. Hashtags that have 6 characters or less perform better, so try to use hashtags that are shorter. And keep in mind that if you are a brand or even an individual user trying to gain traction, being authenticated with the blue check mark on Twitter is really important. In terms of Instagram, this is the quality visual platform. Visuals are king on Instagram. You can max out at 2,200 characters per post, but 150 characters or less actually helps you perform better. Research shows that users actually scroll faster on Instagram than any other platform. So you want to make sure that you have quality images that really attract attention quickly. The actual post itself will cut off longer text with ellipses to where you have to click more in order to see it. This means that first 2 lines of text should be treated like a headline so that it really captures the information that you need. Most posts should be square, 1080 by 1080, but Instagram will allow you to use vertical or horizontal pictures, but it likely means that your images will be cropped. With video, you can have a 60-second maximum video and they autoplay silently. If your video is longer than 60 seconds, Instagram will send it to what's called IGTV, which is a long form video platform. There is also Instagram Live, which operates very similarly to Facebook Live, since the 2 companies are owned by the same owner. And it makes use of emojis probably more than any other platform. Hashtags are important on Instagram, not as much so as Twitter, but still very important. You can use up to 30, but research shows that when you use 9 hashtags, it increases your engagement. So make sure that you have some within the text of your post and then include some at the bottom in what's called the tag. You cannot include hyperlinks within Instagram. So what you typically say is link in bio. And then within your bio on Instagram, you'll put something like a link tree where you include all of the links that you're referring to. Instagram stories are one of the more popular of the story features, which was adopted from Snapchat. Facebook also has Reels. But they are not used, or Reels and stories, but they are not as popular. Visuals are everything on Instagram stories and Reels. The purpose is that you're using photos and videos in a vertical format similar to TikTok. You can go live. 7 seconds are shown at a time. Videos are shown for 15 seconds, but you can add a lot of interactive extras such as types, stickers, geotags, tags, and even surveys. And so Instagram stories is actually proving to be a lot more popular than posts. So make sure that you think about different kinds of stories that you could utilize as well. There are also lenses and filters in stories similar to filters in Snapchat. TikTok is the video platform of social media. Other than YouTube, it is one of the strongest in terms of video. You are able to edit both stills and video into content. It is a vertical platform, meaning that all of your video needs to be shot vertically. You can go live in TikTok. It makes use of hashtags and tags. There are lots of templates that you can use, but TikTok is a very trend-based platform. So you will see very similar content on TikTok, all kind of adapting a similar trend. It is very important that you utilize trends on TikTok. This is the primary way that the algorithm will pick up your content. Snapchat is started out really as an instant messaging app, and it was one of the only platforms where pictures and messages are only available for a short time before they become inaccessible. And yet Snapchat has kind of reinvented itself after platforms like Instagram and Facebook began adopting the filters that they were famous for in order to create user stories that allow for 24 hours of chronological content. Brands use what's called Discover to do ad-supported short-form content. And then, the most highly used aspect of Snapchat, other than perhaps private messaging, is the virtual stickers, filters, and augmented reality objects that made the platform so popular to begin with. So when we are thinking about these various channels, we need to think about social content as a product. We are selling people with the content that we're putting up on these channels. And so understanding the metrics and the analytics are all about realizing what matters to your audience and driving your content to focus on what matters to them. So when you're looking at how things are performing on your channel, you want to see what content is performing best, what has the most engagements, how long are people viewing, when are people watching, what type of device are they using, where are they, who are they, etc. And the reason for this is your advertisers will pay by clicks, views, and influence. So if you're an individual influencer and you want advertisers to pick you up, well, then you need to show them that you have analytics and engagement that would mean that their content could be seen by others. If you're a brand, you need to partner with content or create your own content that is also engaging, because that's how you measure performance based on social media. And then if you're a journalist, this is really what our journalism models are moving towards. In order to keep the lights on in the newsroom, you really have to make content that matters to your audience. So in terms of where each platform is in terms of business, let's talk about like the state of social networks. Facebook is still the largest. It is still making the most money. And I know that's probably surprising for a lot of like college age students, but Facebook remains the king of all the social media platforms. It began some major redesign testing in 2020, and when in 2022 they released as Meta. It drove a lot of ad revenue and investment into Facebook as a product. In the second quarter of 2021, they had 2.89 billion monthly active users. Now, a monthly active user and even a daily active user is just someone who opens the app. They don't have to post content. They don't have to engage. It's just someone that opens up the app. So if my daughter goes onto my phone and just accidentally clicks on Facebook and she opens it up for a second before I close it, then that would log me as an active user. So it's important to know what these terms mean for each platform as well. In terms of revenue and how much money they are making. In 2020, Facebook generated $85.97 billion. This was up from $70 billion in just the previous year. Mobile ads make up 94% of Facebook's total revenue, and Messenger alone has 1.3 billion monthly users. And so you can see that Facebook remains a very strong entity. Instagram is also owned by Meta or Facebook. They have 1 billion monthly active users as of the fourth quarter of 2020. So obviously that's gone up in the past 2 years, but keep in mind, a lot of this information is kept private by companies. And so you only get this information every few years. They have logged 500 million daily active users. People spend an average of 28 minutes a day on Instagram, which seems pretty high, but just hold on to your hats until we get to some of the other platforms. Stories, as I said, has 500 million plus daily active users, which is way more than Snapchat, which is really where the idea for Stories came from. And so it's one of the strongest features of the Instagram platform. Instagram generated about 20 billion in ad revenue for 2019, which is 25% of Meta's total revenue for 2019. In terms of Twitter, they have what are called monetizable daily active users, and MDAU is different than what Facebook and Instagram define as an active user. And the MDAU is someone who actually sees the content. So it has to actually, the user has to actually go into the app and begin interacting with content in order to be considered active users. So there are 206 million MDAUs in 2021, which was up from 2020. They've made 1.05 billion in revenue, which was up 17% year to year. And it was first profitable in 2018, but now consistently profitable ever since. And I think it will just continue to grow. TikTok is one of the newer platforms on the scene, but it was actually created all the way back in 2016. It was a Chinese company called ByteDance that merged with an American company called Musical.ly in 2018. This opened up ByteDance to an American audience under the new title of TikTok. It has 1 billion active users as of February of 21, and the average user checks the app 8 times a day. That's 52 minutes per day. And younger people ages 4 through 15 spend an average of 80 minutes per day on TikTok. As a reminder, Instagram is only at 28 minutes a day on average. So you're seeing a lot more time on platform for TikTok. It is not making as much revenue because it is a newer company, but it still made 500 million in revenue from the United States alone in 2020. Snapchat is one of the platforms that, in my opinion, is kind of like slowly dying and drifting away. The only saving grace for it is it's really popular among younger generations, those under 16, primarily being used as a private messaging function because the messages go away, which makes those messages feel more private. It was created by members of a university that then created the filter and the app. In July of 2021, Snapchat had 293 million daily active users, which was a 23% growth from 2020. 4 billion snaps are sent each day. So it tells you how much communication is really going on in the app. Snapchat is one of the least used in terms of business and advertising, and yet companies are still investing when they want to reach younger generations. So what does all this mean? What are these KPIs or terms that measure engagement and reach? So it's important to understand these terms, and I hope you're taking notes for your exam and also for you to learn these concepts. Some of the key definitions for metrics or analytics include impressions and reach. An impression is the total number of times that the content was placed in a feed. The user doesn't actually have to see it in order for it to be counted as an impression. And yet they had the ability to see it because it was placed somewhere in their feed. So, you could scroll TikTok for hours upon hours and there's still more content at the bottom of your feed. Anything that's below what you saw or anything that you did see would count as one impression. So that's usually a very large number because your content gets placed more often than it gets seen. The reach is the number that really matters because this is the total number of unique eyeballs on your content. It's the unique viewers of your content. So in terms of impression and reach, you have to know which goal you're shooting for. Do you want the potential to reach a ton of people, or do you actually want the number of people who saw your content? Engagements are measured by various means, including reactions, comments, shares, retweets, and more that we'll see on the next page. But these are the most common forms of engagement that are measured by analytics. Likes are considered the cheapest form of engagement because they take the least amount of energy from your user to provide. So if I'm scrolling on Facebook and I like something that my friend sees, then I'm going to give it a thumbs up, right? A like can also be in the shape of a heart for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. These are all the same thing. But Facebook recently created reactions, which are another level of involvement for engagement, because instead of just giving someone a thumbs up on their content, now I want to show that I care. So I'm going to do the heart or the emoji hugging a heart, right? But in order to do that, I not only have to tap on the thumbs up, I have to hold my finger down on the thumbs up and then scroll over and find the reaction that I want. So this is considered a deeper level of engagement by your user because it takes more effort to get there. A comment is an even further level of engagement because they have to take time to write out a response. We know those responses are not always thoughtful or well made, but it's still a further level of engagement. So you can see the different types of comment buttons that are available on each platform. Shares and retweets are considered the king of engagement types because what you're saying is that you not only want to see this content for yourself, but you also want others around you, like your friends and your family, to see the content as well. It's almost like an endorsement of the content. So shares and retweets really matter in the social media world. There are other forms of engagement that businesses use quite frequently, such as click. So if you have a link either within the post or to your bio, a click is someone who clicks on the link. A click-through rate is the number of clicks that the ad receives divided by the number of times your ad is shown. So clicks over impressions creates the click-through rate. The idea is that you want to know which ads, listing, and keywords are successful and which need to be improved. So when you provide keywords, ads, and listings that relate to one another in your business, it improves your click-through rate. A click to call is exactly what it sounds like. It's when a business puts their phone icon on the ad or maybe a phone number and it auto calls from a mobile device. This isn't regularly available on all platforms, but it's still a high form of engagement because they are directly reaching out to you in real life. Subscribe is another large form of engagement because it shows up in your feed more often. You're creating a long-term relationship with that person. And then shopping or clicking through and actually purchasing something are called buys or conversions. And these are the highest level of engagement overall because it means that you're getting someone to do your call to action. So when you're thinking about how to measure engagements, you want to think about it in terms of this funnel structure. So a traditional marketing funnel goes from awareness. So like the impressions or the reach are the widest bucket. You're going to reach a ton of people. But just because someone sees your ad doesn't mean that they necessarily engage with it. And so the next level of like comments and shares, those are considerations, right? That you are reviewing the product, you're interacting with it, you're considering it as part of your life. The preference is when you kind of go in and you say, hey, I really like this. So this might be something like a share or a subscribe, where you kind of want to have a longer relationship with that content or that company in your social media life. The intent means that, hey, I actually want what you're selling. So this would be like your clicks, your click-through rate, your click to call. Some people put a subscribe in an intent because it's like, I intend to form a long-term relationship with you. So it just depends upon how you're defining that. But this means that the person actually has an intention to do the call to action, whether that's buying your product or subscribing or, following your brand, things like that. Now, the purchase is that final conversion. It's someone who fills out your volunteer form. They buy your product, they call and make an appointment with you. These are considered the final conversions. So notice with the funnel that you'll start off with a really wide audience, but it is harder and harder to get someone to convert to your call of action the lower down the funnel you go. So the ones that generate this purchase or intent category are the most valuable in terms of engagement. So how do you find out these things? Well, each platform has its own analytics site on the back end of content. So if you are a page manager within Facebook, you have access to something called Insight. Insight provides general metrics and analytics that you can see. So this is the back end of the mass communication program from 2021. You can see our reach on both Facebook and Instagram. You can see the reach of particular posts. And you can see how the page does as a whole, see what your audience is like, the different demographics. The ones that we pull here are typically age and gender, as well as location. And you can also see how your content performs, not only in terms of reach, but you can also go here and sort by engagements as well. Instagram also has an insights page on a professional creator page. This is just recent within the past year that you have to have a professional creator page. It used to be open to everyone. It's only available on a mobile device, or if you're using Facebook Business Insights, you can see both. As you saw on our page, we have both the Instagram and the Facebook there. Instagram Insights allows you to check individual posts or the entire account's insights. You can see things such as performance over a timeline or the interactions from an individual post. Here you can see the top post, our top stories, the number of impressions we got, profile visit, website taps, etc. Twitter also has an analytics page. Anyone can access analytics on any of your Twitter page. All you have to do is hit the More button and then click on Analytics, and it will show you everything from the past 28 days or by months. And so you can see here's a 28-day summary of Monteballo's page, such as the tweet highlights, top mentions, etc. And so Twitter analytics are also available for individuals. You can see my personal Twitter page here. Again, I'm not very popular, nor should I be, but I have earned 11.5 impressions over a 28-day period. You can see my engagement rate is 1.3. People click on my links pretty often. It's 62. So you can see how individual posts perform as well. So how do you use analytics? Well, you should never stop with just the number. Ask why. For everything that you're seeing, you should be measuring it up against goals for your brand or your organization. So for example, do I want eyeballs or do I want more people seeing it? That will tell you whether you're valuing impressions or reach. In terms of likes and reactions, are people reacting to your content positively? Like, are they doing the heart emoji? Are they doing the thumbs up? Or negatively? Are they using that mad emoji or the sad emoji, right? So it allows you to kind of get the tone of reactions as well. You may notice people aren't engaging with your content at all, and that should tell you something about the types of strategy that you're using, that something needs to change. You should be monitoring comments, which you'll learn about within our community management section. But what are people saying? Are there additional story ideas or content that you could follow up on? Sharing, you should know who the types of people are that are sharing your content and how do you capitalize on their social capital and their friend network to increase your reach and engagement. In terms of impressions, you want to know who your audience is in terms of demographics, what their interests are, which are called psychosocial characteristics. And then how does my content meet these needs and characteristics, or how can I improve it to kind of match with who my audience is better? And then when you're looking at engagements, you want to know, is my audience engaging? Why or why not? What's my most successful content? What makes it so successful? What's my least successful content? And how can I improve it? And then what are the kinds of categories, types, or tags that have been the biggest drivers of my engagement? And how can I continue to utilize those? So when we are talking about being social media strategists, understanding how analytics work is really important, because it's not just about looking at, oh, this was my top performing post. It's about looking at that content and trying to apply it to future strategy so that all of your posts and campaigns will be even more effective. And of course, this is what your social media marketing certification is really meant to be teaching you. So make sure that you go through the rest of the module. If you have any questions or concerns about this or any other content throughout the semester, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Hope you have a great rest of your day.